The Orange Zone, sponsored by Billy Whitaker Cars and Trucks.
What's up, everybody? Welcome into the award-winning Orange Zone podcast. A reminder, you can find every episode on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you want to listen. You can also find every episode on our Orange Zone YouTube page. I'm Tommy Sladek. This is Samantha Croston. We have James Mungro back in studio, and we have Brendon Hodges on the producer mic. Now, new episodes are released Wednesday. We invite you to like, comment, subscribe, and also be sure to follow us on our all-new Instagram and TikTok page for even more Orange Zone content. On today's episode, it's the bye week, which is a breather for not just the team, it's a breather for us. We have a lot to get off our chest. We're recapping the FSU game. We're taking a look at the season as a whole.
Do we have to recap the FSU
We have
game?
to.
Oh, yeah.
It is a
and
rule.
we're coming to you first.
We're coming to you first. We're looking ahead to this backstretch of the season. Where will this team go? There's a lot to get to on here, but James is back. Super Bowl champion James Mungro is back. You were sick, and we're happy to have you back. How you feeling, dude?
I'm feeling really good. Thank you for having me back. The past couple of weeks I was down. Kind of glad I didn't show my face at all either.
I think you would have had a lot to say during that period of time, but you still do now.
Yeah, I really do. FSU. Let's talk about it.
Let's talk about it. Now that you've had some time to
Digest this?
digest Saturday.
Okay.
How do you
How do
feel
I
about
feel about that? Okay.
How do you feel about
Let's
it?
go.
Yeah, it's like a therapy session.
I saw two positive things happen in that game. The running back ran very hard, and our penalties we had 2 for 8 in penalties. That was the positive about FSU versus Syracuse. That's all I can really say. Everything else was totally toilet bowl, unacceptable football, worst football I've ever seen in a long time. It's sad to see the players have so much energy in the very beginning of the season, and then right where everything is on the line, you just go out there and it's a very familiar and similar song and dance all over again, just another year. Unfortunately, we put all of our attention on the quarterback. So if the quarterback plays bad or has a terrible game, everything is bad. And when you're playing a good defense like FSU, one of the best teams in the country, you got to play your A game, and we played a F game. So, the boys have to really go back, and coaches got to look themselves in the mirror and say, where do we go from here? Because right now it's not looking too good.
I'll say this. The season can go 2 different ways, maybe even 3 or 4 different ways. But there's only 1 or 2 ways that's going to make this fan base happy.
Win. Just win. Just all we gotta do is win. I'm getting excited now.
Oh, I thought you meant WHEN, and I was like, right now, dude, I don't.
We have to win. Syracuse has to win to have the fan base, the alumni, the support that they want. They build all this beautiful stuff up there for the facility, brand new facility. They're building. They're in construction right now. Are we going to still have the same coach here when the stuff is all built? Are we going to get more players coming in here? Right now, nobody wants to come to Syracuse. Why would you come to Syracuse?
Depends on what win they hit. Depends on 6. It depends on if it's 7. It depends on if it's 8. It depends on if it's 9. Depends on if it's 5. All of those are possibilities. And how this next stretch goes down here, guys, is going to dictate a lot when it comes to what this program is, who this program is next year. Sam.
I agree with that because, listen, I think that everybody sort of knew heading into this stretch of 3 games that it was not going to be easy. It was going to be very difficult. I think that the reason why fans are as upset as they are, and especially you as an alumni and somebody who used to play for the team, is because I think people expected for them to put up a better effort.
Yes.
In the last 3 games. Is that fair to say?
100%.
On national television, while everybody is watching those kinds of situations, you would have thought that there would have been more fight, a little bit more competitive. And I will say, I know this is going to sound crazy, but out of the last 3 games, I actually almost felt like that first quarter against FSU was one of the best ones out of all 3 games.
100%.
You really felt like,
yes.
okay, this is kind of the juice that we've been waiting around for. This is what we've been waiting to see. I'll say another thing that I think could be controversial. I know that the defense let up 41 points. I actually still thought that they played somewhat of a good game.
Completely agree with you.
Like there really were some plays and some moments where I thought this defense is good enough to win games. This offense isn't. To me, it is far more concerning that Syracuse only puts up 3 points against FSU than that they give up 41.
17 of those happened in the fourth quarter too. The score did not dictate what happened there, and you might look at it and say, some of this has got to
17
be.
points happened in the fourth quarter?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
'Cause I didn't see that part.
Okay. What time did you stop? And I think I probably already know it, because the moment that really rubbed this fan base the wrong way, third quarter, they're down 24-3. It's their best drive in what felt like all 2 hours of that afternoon, and they opt to kick it instead of go for it on, I believe, a 4th and 6. They missed a field goal.
It was initially
That's playing not to lose, or playing just to not. I don't know what that was. You were already down.
What would be like? I am
don't
curious.
know.
Like,
I don't get that one by him.
In your eyes, what
3
would be
points,
the reason for
3
that?
points ain't giving you nothing when you're getting blown
That would still
out.
make it a 3-score game.
So what is the like? Why even do that? What's the actual rationale behind that?
That's something the head coach had to answer. I mean, that's the decision he made at the time, and that's something that he has to answer. I don't know why. A lot of people don't know why, but yeah, you're absolutely right. That's when I got into my vehicle and I drove home.
Got into my vehicle.
Where were you watching at? Speaking of, but we got to get back to is there's been some people waiting on it. So last time James was heading into the Clemson game, and the big point of contention was how and when he'd be able to watch the game after his son's soccer game in Auburn. Did they win that game? And where did you go?
Yes. My son's soccer team crushed Auburn. Auburn's team was they're in a bad year this year. But and watching the game at the game on my phone, me and another gentleman, and that game was just a
It was the same feeling.
The same feeling again. But yeah, my son's team won, so that was good. And then unfortunately, Syracuse got crushed by Clemson that evening. My wife's friends were in town for homecoming, and I ended up meeting them out later that evening. I ended up going up to Syracuse, up on the campus, and I think that's where I got sick at. Honestly, and that's why I was out for 2 weeks.
Statistically, it makes sense, right?
And I should have won out after a loss, and I did anyways. I really wasn't really up to being around fans and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But I had to show my face and see some people I haven't seen in a long time up at the Cuse, and it was a good time. But I ended up getting sick, so that I'm superstitious already. She told me I should have kept my butt home, and. But either way, again, Syracuse, they really have to figure something out, because every year it's the same thing, and everyone's getting sick of it. I mean, they're getting sick of it. I mean, when you win, people are following you. People are all about it. I had players go down to New York to watch the Pittsburgh game. Am I going to spend that money now to go to New York City? I mean, I'm not going to do that.
Or the bowl game against Minnesota, you mean?
No, I'm talking about the Pittsburgh game this week.
in
a couple
November,
weeks,
okay.
they're playing in down in New York City. It'd be a great time to go down there with your family and stuff like that. But I mean, I want to watch a good game. I'm not going to spend all that money just watching. That's what they got to think about. The dome is half empty. People's not showing up to the dome. You're playing these big quality, high quality teams. You go to a university, Division I school, to play on national TV. I mean, that's what you do. That's the whole goal. You're in high school, then you go to university. You want to be in a high, everybody's watching. The fans are around. You have that support, and then you come here and you play, and it's just you win your first few games. You're all hyped up, but that's false enthusiasm. You're not playing good teams. And so when you play the really good teams, it shows. And it shows how far we are from being a good team, when we are very far off from being a good team. I mean, when I say far off, a couple years.
I mean, we put the emotions out there, but there's numbers to back up these emotions. I'm going to bring in our numbers guy. I'm going to bring in Brendon. Brendon, you've been looking at the numbers. What are the numbers that stand out to you that help explain the emotion this fan base is feeling right now?
Well, the big one that I have here, and that you guys actually have in front of you, is just the point differential.
Mm-hmm.
And I know point differential only means so much to a fan base, because the name of the game is score more points to your opponent. And it's like, yeah, but what were the numbers inside of that? And we had talked about this. Soft early schedule for Syracuse, as it has been for quite a while now, outscoring the opponents 177-43. SU, top 5 offense in the country. That was the big thing that a lot of people were talking about, right? But then you get into the meat grinder. ACC schedule. And this was a harder ACC schedule than last year when we started this podcast, by far. You had Louisville in week 1 last year. North Carolina State, I think, was the second ACC game that SU played, and that was a couple months later. 112-24 going the other way. Now, whether that's coaching decisions or just lack of execution from players is up to the eyes of the beholder. They just haven't played well. The defense, I think, has been as good as they can be against some of these teams. In Clemson, they made plays when they had to make plays. The offense just couldn't score. North Carolina was just a what can go wrong will go wrong. And at Florida State, they ran out of gas, and by the time that it really got out of hand and you were up in the 30-40 range, you didn't have a lot of those names and faces you're used to seeing out there playing in that game.
But I think it does speak to, like, when you said false enthusiasm, that makes sense to me when you see these numbers. This number matters because you mentioned it. I think in these games where you're going against such tough competition, you can tell how far away is Syracuse from being a great team or a very good team. And you do see that they're being outscored 112-24 by the last ACC opponents. Brendon said it. That's a big difference right there. And granted, the other stat, Brendon wrote this down that I think is important, is that SU's first 3 conference opponents have a combined record of 16-2, 9-2 in the ACC. I mean, these are big dogs, really good teams. The rest of the conference schedule's combined record is 14-17, 6-9 in the ACC. So the competition does soften up a little bit to that extent. And like Tommy said, now it is a matter of thinking about, okay, the bye week coming at the perfect time, and what is the rest of this season going to be? That really is up to the Syracuse squad.
And bouncing off of that, you go a little bit deeper on those numbers and look at the ESPN metrics, and what they have is a, really a strength of schedule metric. And ESPN believes Syracuse is the easiest in the Power 5.
Yes,
that's left, and that's the big question I think some people are trying to figure out and judge right now. Is they just went through the gauntlet, and everyone knows that. Do I think Florida State and UNC are 2 teams that are still that one either? I still see either of them making the college football playoff. Honestly, yes. Florida State has the edge, but like UNC is a very good team, and it's the question of. I think I wrongly used the word. I wanted to see more fight. I think the fight has always been there, because if there's no fight, then it's just you don't get that feeling of that they're even going to compete. Looking at the LaQuinn Allens, looking at the defense, there's fight there. It's the execution
part of
the game plan that's just been,
horrendous,
bad. And to me, you mentioned Garrett Schrader, kind of living or dying by the way he's playing. It has not been the same since he took that hit in the Clemson game. It has not been the same. And read into that for whatever you want, but it's just. There's been 2 different quarterbacks there, and I'm hoping this week helps him.
Well, the thing about it is he's a tough guy. He's a very tough kid. I'll give that to him. He's tough, but he puts too much on his shoulders, and the coaches put too much on his shoulders. They have weapons. They can't get the ball to the weapons, And so, like you said, execution. If the offensive lineman can't hold the defense back, then it's hard to throw the ball. So, therefore, that's where Schrader goes to Schrader and does, for example, early on in the season, I said to you, oh, he's doing it against these lesser opponents running on him and stuff like that and doing different things and making moves and all of that. Well, a lot of those kids were non-athletic kids. Now you're going to go down to Florida State, North Carolina, and play Clemson. These gentlemen are athletes. Let's
go with athletes and super athletes. How about that?
You got a point there.
Yeah. At the end of the day, still D1. I got to respect that.
I think top 1% is what we got to go with there, because those NFL guys
Keon
are
Coleman.
littering.
You saw that
my
catch.
God.
Put him on the birds.
That's put him on the birds. It's just amazing to see when you go to school, go to college, pick a school out, how you're very competitive and you want to be the best school. You're like, oh, this school, you believe in this school and all that type of stuff. Do the kids really believe in themselves right now? I mean, that's the whole thing. Do the kids believe? Do the coaches believe in the kids, the system? Because right now it's like this is. I mean, they should at least got one game. I was hoping they can get 1 out of 3 at the gauntlet, and they did completely opposite of what I thought they would do. I thought their energy was very good early in the season, but now, like you said, where do they go from now? You know what I'm saying? And we have the easiest schedule left. It's going to be tough. It's still going to be tough. And then on top of that, too, as well, you got these other teams now that are feeding off of this.
Mm-hmm.
Made them even hungrier. Oh, we could definitely hang out with this team. So
that's definitely true.
Yeah,
Is
so
you know
all
that
these
they're watching
all these
that.
teams that we have left, Virginia Tech, Boston College, Pitt, Georgia Tech, Wake Forest, they all believe they could beat Syracuse. Why wouldn't they?
And Dino Babers is giving them bulletin board material. I don't know if you guys saw that after his post game from Florida State. You know, someone asked him, I believe it was Emily Liker, Syracuse.com, asked him about what's going to change with the offense. How do you change it? And he's like, what's going to change is the opposing defenses. So he very much put that on. He's like, you're not going to be seeing the bigger guys on the D line that are just getting their hands up there without jumping to a receiver that would have been open. You can say that all you want, but from what we saw, I didn't see any type of execution that even had that just an inkling that they were going to be competitive. This offense in the past few weeks.
The word that comes to mind for me to describe this offense over the last 3 games, but especially against FSU, would just be stale.
Yes.
It was really just stale.
A stale piece of bread.
Musty, crusty, dusty. It felt like, and again, we have talked about this a lot, even just offline. Just what actually is the ceiling of this offense, and are we actually seeing it? And I think the answer to that is no. I think that there's a lot of potential there that we're just not actually seeing in the games. However, I mean, you have to figure out a way. Listen, LaQuinn Allen, like you said, that was one of the bright spots. I thought he did a really nice job. But again, it's tough. We talk about one thing that does occur every year, and that is injuries. And I know that you can't look back, but it bums me out, like thinking about what the ceiling could have been if Gadsden was still around and things like that. And I know it's a different situation.
Even
now.
if Gadsden played against Florida State, yes, I think you have to get the ball to him. You have to get the ball to him. Possibly a handoff or throwing the ball. I mean, we threw the ball 9 times, I think. Schrader threw completed 9 balls out of 20 or something like that.
I'll double check that right now.
I mean, we only had 10 completions, I think, or 11 completions the whole game. A whole a whole college game, 10 completions. That's unheard of.
I'm not going to lie either. With Gadsden being a guy who would want to work over the middle as that like wide receiver tight end hybrid, have you seen Syracuse throw the ball over the middle with any sort of consistency? And even if you do, you're going to see guys get lit up, and he may be right where he is
I don't
right
even
now.
think we've tried the middle of the field. I don't think he has time to even get to the middle of the field. I don't know. And maybe I think that's more just playing it safe and not risking interceptions. But, Schrader went 9 for 21. 9 for 21, 99 yards, no interceptions. But it's a far cry from it just felt like the offense could do whatever they wanted during those first 4 games. But Sam, to bring up a point, then we'll move on and hit this stock up, stock down that Brendon has here for us. It does date back to what is the ceiling? Can they reach their ceiling? And the ceiling to me can happen with that roster that showed up in week 1. But it goes back to the depth issues. It goes back to Florida State had guys out. And guess what? The ones that plugged in, you would never know if they were the starter or not.
Yeah.
Nope.
Syracuse, you know and you feel it. And you feel it year in and year out when those guys go down. You look at the offense, end of the day, it's not just Gadsden. It's no Isaiah Jones has been somewhat there. He's kind of one of those players hinted that could be coming back and really playing, and gosh, do they need him. Trevor Pena, not there.
Yeah.
On the line, Kalen Ellis, Joe Moore, David Waldball, like guys that have just really not been a part of that original unit, and the original unit can hit that ceiling. It's just a matter of can we see a Syracuse team hit that next level with the injuries that are going to happen year in and year out.
Right, and I really think the problem and part of the reason why there is this frustration amongst the fan base that has sort of existed for a while. This is pent up frustration. This isn't
really
like
is.
week 1 frustration.
I can't tell with you guys.
And I do think the reason for that in part is because so many of the issues that we talk about that need to be changed, we're not talking about it's big macro issues that exist not only week in and week out, but kind of year in and year out. It's injuries, it's depth, it's recruiting, it's big picture topics that are not just going to be fixed by changing one little thing.
You're right.
It seems like there needs to be some kind of a big overhaul to truly get to that next level. Most of the time, and ever since I've been here, in my head I always thought, this Syracuse football team is a good team, but I wonder what it would take for them to become a great team. And after these last 3 games, I think that the difference between good and great and what it's going to take to get there is actually a little bit bigger than I initially thought.
You know something too as well, and there's a lot of people out here wondering how people practice and stuff like that. With sports and football, your offense or defense is put in the summertime. You fix all the little mistakes and everything in the summertime. Your game plan is in the summer. Like your game plan, everything you practice is all in the summer. So by the first week, you're up and going, and you're making adjustments. These are bigger adjustments that Syracuse has right now that is going to take more than a few 1 week. 1 week is not going to clean everything up by no means. It can fix a couple things, but they need more time. Unfortunately, they need more time. And I don't know what they do in the summertime for practice and stuff like that, but that's where all the work is put in. The game time, when the first week in September, that's the reward for what you did in the summertime and everything, and all the hard work. You put in. All the work you put in is in the summertime. The game time is the reward of playing. And week by week, you get better and you adjust. But the adjustments we have, like I said here, are too big to adjust in 1 week or 2 weeks or 3 weeks.
Okay. You guys ready to keep it moving?
Absolutely.
Ready for the stock up, stock down? So, Brendon, you want to explain it?
Yeah, a super easy exercise, ladies and gents.
Exercise.
Exercise.
Sounded so funny.
What SU football should have been doing over the summer, exercising and execution. Picking a player from the offensive, and I loop in defense and special teams together because you'll see a lot of defensive backups or even starters playing on special teams as well. Offensive guy who is trending upwards and you believe will continue to. Offensive guy who you believe is trending down, maybe hasn't fulfilled your expectations for them, and then the same thing in regards to the defensive guys and special teamers. And whoever would like to start, I know James is just seeing this for the first time, so maybe we go with the old adage, age before beauty, and let Tommy go.
Okay. All right, I'll get it going. So should we want us to we all kind of do our offense stock up?
I think all of our stuff's going to be very similar, honestly.
I
think so.
Yeah.
I think I'm going to throw a little loophole in it always, but...
All right, offense stock up, I think we're probably all on the same page here. LaQuinn Allen.
I saw you write that down, and the only other person that I could also think of, easy.
Jeez, dude.
It's not a test. And because of
I
that,
would let you cheat if we were doing a test.
I so appreciate that. Thank you. So that's a true friend right there.
Teacher says that's not acceptable.
I ride for my
Brendon
guys.
is the teacher. The only other person who I also put down was Dan Villari. I really thought that's somebody who you could put in as someone who is trending upwards, who we've seen a lot from, who some people even thought did better than originally expected. And I could see him continuing to make an impact as the season goes on. But absolutely, LaQuinn Allen seems like the easy answer there.
How about you, James?
I agree with you said right there. I mean, I was 100% Allen.
And guess what? He's a guy that's already hit 500 yards. So we could see a 1,000-yard season from him, which I don't know if many people expected. I think there was definitely expectations for him, but for him to hit that mark would be a huge milestone.
Well, the reason why I say Allen, though, is because if you can't throw the ball, what else are you going to do?
Yeah.
I mean, this is common sense now for myself. It has been, in football for a long time. If you can't throw the ball, the guy's not blocking up front. All you can do is hand the ball off, and the guy gets, hopefully break something with his own athletic ability with the subpar blocking up top.
Mm-hmm. And the players tell us and the coaches say all the time that it's like we're just starting to scratch the surface on what he pulls off in practice. So if that's the case,
he's such an
keep
athletic
bringing it out.
When I watched him in the summertime, I felt really excited watching him. I felt like he had something very special. And
he's so different from Sean, right?
It's completely different. I love the way he runs, but he needs help out there. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? One person can't do it. You need all the guys out there on the same page, and we just haven't seen that when they play tough teams. When they play the easy teams, they're throwing the guys all around, driving them back 10 yards. You play the tough boys, it's the complete opposite. They're on your side of the ball, and you're scrambling around and stuff like that.
Right.
So we agree on Allen.
Also, you're right, it can't be an individual effort, but what about that one run he had against FSU where he truly just trucking through guys?
Barreled. Yeah.
That was one of my favorite plays of the game.
Yeah.
Felt great. Offense, stock down. You want yours? Hit us with it.
I put Damian Alford for this one.
Mm-hmm.
I think that he's someone who started off the year really strong, and he had some great plays, and he showed how his frame could be really useful, and we saw what things he was able to accomplish. And I think since that point, again, kind of like what you said, it's been sort of tough to get him the ball, hasn't been connecting as much lately. And I also put it not necessarily in a trending down direction so much as this is somebody who needs to step up if they want to see a trend up in the future.
I would agree with that. He's also someone that I had written down, and I just wanted to bring out the game-by-game results because you go back to Purdue, it was 4 catches for 70 yards. Army, it was 9 catches for 135, and that was that moment where at that point we already knew about the Gadsden situation. We said, okay.
He's the next guy up.
He's the next guy up. That was a statement saying, I'm WR1.
Yes.
But since then, Clemson, 1 catch for 35 yards. UNC, nothing. Nada.
That's crazy.
And then Florida State, a little bit better, 2 catches for 37, but that's got to change. And you could make the argument that that's maybe more on Schrader not seeing him. You could say it's the O-line not giving pass protection. But end of the day, if you're going to be that guy, you got to make sure that you're staying and finding ways to be that guy, whether it's coming back to the ball, changing things up, just dogs find way to be dogs.
Well,
Yes.
and even like you even said this kind of, but the idea of, oh, he's that guy, he's that dude. I feel like if you're going to hold that title of that dude, one of the things that you have to have is consistency.
Yes.
That's how you become that dude, is by having a that dude performance game in and game out. Not 100% of the time, but 80 or 90. Then people know you as that guy.
Yeah. But again, he has to get the ball thrown to him.
Correct.
So, I mean.
Not all on him.
It's, he can't, take the ball from the center. I mean,
Right.
he could. But he has to get the ball from Schrader somehow
Absolutely.
to him.
You're right.
Yeah, and as for my other guy, that was just Garrett Schrader, stuck just down at the moment compared to what we saw in the beginning of the year because we know that there's more there, and it hasn't felt the same. 0 touchdown throws over these 2 losses. Completion percentage wasn't actually bad in the UNC game. It was 15 for 21, but it just, again, it felt so stale. And then FSU, that was his worst one of the season so far, 42%, 9 for 21. Again,
19, was it 19?
Sorry,
quarterback?
9 for 21.
Yeah, but 19 quarterback rating. He had a 19 quarterback rating against Florida State.
Yeah, not hot, dude.
That's
not hot.
19.
Not
Like,
hot.
wow.
So this is the week I think that depending on whatever he's dealing with, if he is dealing with anything, we know how he's tough and he kind of keeps things quiet like that. But hopefully this is one of those things where he's like, man, did my body need this? And he comes back a different person on Thursday. So defense, special teams.
I just get skipped?
Oh, I'm sorry about that,
Just get
James.
skipped?
Go ahead. Go
Okay.
ahead. You're stocked down.
This guy.
We were talking about Schrader.
He's got in the flow of it. I understand. He got in the flow of it. So I'm going to shake it up a little bit. I'm going to say offensive stock down. I would say offensive lineman
Okay.
because it starts up front. Mm-hmm. It all starts up front no matter what. It starts up front. And the quarterback, running backs a little different situation, but the quarterback has to have enough time to throw the ball and do necessary things to get the guys in the right formations and stuff like that. So I put the blame on offensive lineman. That is totally the start of it. And once the offensive lineman start blocking and stuff like that, then Schrader will have time to do what he does back there and doesn't feel all that pressure. So I really blame the offensive lineman.
I hope that, and it's one of those things where it's a unit that's figuring itself out. And
Well, when are you going to figure yourself out?
Well,
Like that's the whole point.
No, the
I
point
can't
is though,
stand
but
when
the
people
guys
say
are
that.
getting, but the guys are getting plugged and played, and I know how different it can be once
We're
it's
halfway
like
during the season, and you were talking about figuring stuff out. This stuff
Figuring
should have been
stuff out.
figured out a long time
right,
ago.
but it's the same 5 from that start has been moved around. Guys are flip flopped. I feel like when you're next to a new dude, that takes time. But you're right in the sense that there is no time.
There's
It
no-
has
zero
to
time
happen.
to
It
figure. You
has to
gotta do it
happen now. But they got
That's the summertime to figure this stuff all out. That's the
All
whole
right.
point I was saying.
Agree with you on
I'm
that.
Sorry, I'm hot, man.
No,
This
I
is-
get it.
This
I
is,
get it.
This is
Let it
unnecessary, and it's like it's embarrassing. The city's embarrassed. Alumni is embarrassed. Fans embarrassed. We got Keith Bullock saying that Syracuse, please don't show Syracuse on TV. I feel the same way. It's embarrassing. I went to school here. We all went to school here. We all have pride. You guys have pride. We're talking about them, and it's like they're not helping us at all. They are not helping us all. They're making this very hard for us to say anything positive. And I hate to speak negative about Syracuse, but the shoe fits. You do what you got to do. I mean, you got to be honest to the fans.
You know what? Let's keep you
And
staying.
I think everybody
Yeah.
appreciates the honesty. So feel free to speak away. Continuing on.
Let's continue with those vibes and let's go defense, special teams, stock down then.
I mean, I'll be honest with you. This was the hardest category for me. Like, this was the one that I actually struggled to write down anything because I don't. Listen, there's room for improvement.
Yes.
But I don't think that there was any one particular person from players to coaches who are truly trending down. So the only name that I could think of to write was Brady Denneberg, and it's not even because I think that he's necessarily doing a bad job. I just thought that Andre Schmidt was better, and I think that now Brady Denneberg has to just do a little bit more just to get up to that level. But clearly, Dino Babers does have high aspirations for him because he does think he can kick it a pretty far distance based on the things he's had him trot out to try.
Yeah, I would say so. I mean, again, it's this one. I just don't really have a stock.
It's tough.
I just don't really have one. It doesn't feel like on offense that feels warranted, but on defense,
the defense is going to do so much, and it's like if the offense is not putting you in good position and your special teams are not putting you in good positions at all, your back's against the wall. Where some of the punting was bad, earlier in the year and all that type of stuff, and their back's against the wall, and they showed up against those teams. But when you're playing tough components like these components that we're playing now, like you got to play football. To win a game, the worst you could do is B football. You know what I'm saying? I mean, we're not even near B. We're on the very, very low end of the F column, and it's just every year it's the same thing. It seems like it.
Well, not to mention also, I feel like, first of all, from a physical standpoint, think about how much time that unit has spent on the field, in the past 3 games. That's what I think about. I'm thinking about how taxing that must be physically, but also emotionally, mentally. I mean, of course, I never played football, but I played on a team sport. I know what that feels like to either be, obviously for me, I was a goalie, I was a defensive player. I know what that feels like to continue to feel like you're letting the team down and you're letting in goals the same way they're letting up touchdowns. But it's because if the ball's always on your side of the field, there's honest to God only so much that you can do, right? And that's why it's a team sport. And that's why it's never necessarily any one person's fault, is because you have to work together to solve these kinds of big level problems.
Yeah. And this isn't a stock down, but this is more of a I know there's some fire in them, and I want to see it come out every single game. Is I want more from the D line, and I want them getting to the QB in the first quarter. I want Darren, I want Caleb, I want Terry, I want T-Lock. I want all those guys really making noise from the start of the game and creating disruption in the pocket. Stock up wise, I mean, kind of just everything seems to be clicking with the Rocky Long defense. They're doing their part.
Right. Is Rocky Long an option?
Oh, Rocky Long can totally be your stock up MVP, and I think that's completely warranted, especially coming in his first year. And again, it's a defense that these guys knew from last year in the 3-3-5, but still, I give him a lot of props from what he's able to do. But my 2 biggest names, Marlowe Wax, Leon Lowry.
I'm also going to add to that Jack Stonehouse. This is a guy who came into the beginning of the year with really high aspirations, and he knew exactly what he wanted to accomplish, and I do feel like he has, for the most part, done that. He said he was trying to punt the ball for the most part. What did he say? I think he said he wanted to try and be in the 50s for the most part, and I do feel like he's done a good job. I feel like he's pinned a lot of teams down into a difficult situation, which is not something we always had consistency with the last time around last year.
I believe he's at a 46, and he had a rough punt or 2 in the Purdue game, but really he's corrected it.
Yeah, it was a little shaky a little bit in the beginning part of the punting, I think. The kicking game, I mean, we missed a field goal. We have a good snapper, though, I guess, right?
Yeah.
That's a positive thing.
Positive thing?
Positive.
When you're not talking about them, that's when you know when it's going good.
Yeah.
Another thing that's nice about Denneberg, too, is, and sometimes with Andre Schmidt, I don't know if he really had the boot to do it, but if Bob Legashevsky or Dino's saying, we don't want them touching this, he'll put it out of the end zone every single time. So that's good that option is on the table.
You know who else? One other name I want to throw out there? Justin Barron. And not to mention, I thought this was, I just thought this was a dog alert move that the last game around, I saw in a picture on the Syracuse football Twitter that he's wearing a cast.
Yeah.
And then I realized, he's playing with the cast on. Wow, I mean, I feel like that takes a lot physically, mentally, emotionally to be able to be out there. You're obviously in some pain, and he's still getting his thing done. I also really liked his answers in the post-game press conference. I felt like he's the kind of dude who takes accountability, recognizes the problems, wants to be a part of the solution.
You just had me reminiscing about something. Last night I was watching an NFL game, and my wife said to me, oh, my God, that dude's out there playing with a broken finger. I didn't know they could do that. And I just shook my head. I just said, oh, my goodness. It was the quarterback. It was not throwing hand. And she's like, did you ever hear that before? And I'm just like, I just shook my head. I just shook my head and said, honey.
You're like, honey, my head was half off my body
Wait,
for 3
I know.
games.
I'm thinking out of like this guy's like always
Yeah.
there's something going on.
I just shook my head. I said, do you really know sports? Like, just watch the game, please. Just watch the game. But it was, I mean, you're going to play with injuries. Injuries are going to happen. And, I mean, you're going to have bumps and bruises. And, you know, you're right. And it takes a tough guy to do stuff like that. But, you know, Syracuse, we talk about stock up, stock down. You know, as a whole group, you know, even with the coaches, some of the decisions that Dino's made over the past 3 games, some I would disagree with. And I forget what happened in the Clemson game. Something happened in the Clemson game when they kicked instead of going for it or did something. It was something ridiculous. They should have kicked the field goal, but they ended up going for it. And it was a 1-score game. I mean, little things like that. And, you know, something that you had me laughing, though, and you said that one person can lose a game. Well, not so much for Syracuse, but one person can lose the game. And just think of the Miami game, Hurricanes, when they didn't take a knee.
Listen, it can
So-
clearly.
so,
no,
I mean,
it definitely
and-
can.
and-
Even in a team sport, believe me, as a goalie, I know. Like if I lost the game, I know it. So you're right. You're right.
You know that.
And you have to
Psychologically,
take
psychologically you know that.
accountability.
If you dropped if I fumbled the
Yeah.
ball on the 1-yard line going in,
Right,
I lost
sure.
the game for the team.
Absolutely.
We had
Yeah.
the whole game to play, but I lost the game. When they depended on me, I dropped the ball on the 1-yard line, and I lost.
Yes.
I mean, that's, you know, you put it on your shoulders. Like, you know, I don't know how Schrader does, because when Schrader wins the games, it's all about Schrader. You know, we talk very highly of him because he does very well. But when they lose the game, I mean, as a person, I would take the same responsibility and put the same weight on me.
Yeah, and I mean, listen, it's a very high pressure position. Honestly, that's why I brought up the goalie experience, because I think that being a goalie and being a quarterback is very, very similar.
100%, yes.
When you're playing well, everybody's thinking about you as the hero, and when you're playing badly, everybody's viewing you as a villain. But either way, you are always in the spotlight.
Yes.
And you do have to take a lot of accountability in that position. I think it's something he does very well. And he always takes accountability, and he shows up to the press conferences, and he has a great attitude. But I just meant more in the sense of with this team situation, because we talked about the fact that these are macro issues, big picture issues. That is a team effort that it's going to take to fix.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. Absolutely right.
I can't remember what it was that bothered the fans in the Clemson game. I really can't. Because I do know a few years ago it was the one where they did go for the kick, I believe, on a 4th and 1. They lost
Yes.
17-14. North Carolina and Florida State, the biggest thing that stuck out was almost the same thing, where in the North Carolina game they were already down. I think they were at midfield and they opted to punt. And then this past game, most recently, they were down 24-3 and went for the field goal.
Yeah,
and so it's the aggression. And I feel like it's almost flip-flopped over the last 6-7 years, where there was almost a little bit where some people wanted the coach to be more conservative in these moments, but he was aggressive. And in
everyone's
this
like,
one,
"Be gutsy."
in this one, it's they're asking for the aggression, and in those 2 moments, completely warranted. And gosh, it would bother me. It would bother me if I was playing and we went for a field goal there, man. It really
Me too.
would.
Me
Yeah,
too.
it's tough. It's tough. I mean, hopefully all we can do is go up. I mean,
Yeah.
we obviously can go down too as well. Let's be realistic. You know, they could crap the bed, or they, you know, get it together somehow and come together as a team and figure something out for the next 5-6 games.
Yeah.
Well, that's for next week. I think on to Brendon's trivia on that.
Let's do
note.
it. Let's do it.
That was Florida State fans are going to love the fact we brought up that Miami thing 2 weekends in a row. By the way, shout out to Knowles Nation.
Right?
Like, oh my God.
Yeah, Knowles Nation went
they
nuts.
absolutely pounded the click button on that last week's episode.
100%.
5,000 views.
It's so true. 5,000
Okay.
views. So thank you so much, everybody who tuned into the last episode and who continue to support us, because that was an all-time high for us by a mile, and we're only getting started. The best is yet to come.
Absolutely.
You know something too? I'm going to give a shout out to Florida State too as well. Might as well. I like their band. Their band, boy. Their band be going. And when, you know,
They got some energy, man.
I took a visit down there.
Yeah?
It just wasn't my taste.
Dope
you know,
Campbell?
It wasn't my taste of with everything going on down there. But you know, that band. Once that band starts rocking, I feel like the players feed off of that.
Yeah.
You know, the players feed off of that, and the fans are going crazy, and it just showed. I mean, once that ball start rolling, there was nothing Syracuse was going to do to stop it.
It's a great environment. They got great players.
Great environment.
Jared Verse, man. Well, he's a dog. That D lineman, kid from Albany, he's something else. But yeah, shout out to Florida State fans. Shout out Syracuse fans. Everyone's been helping us
what
out.
Florida State did, they did exactly what they were supposed to do. Mm-hmm. And, it's unfortunate I had to say it that way, but they did. They
Took care of business.
Took care of business, and they have a goal, and they're trying to reach their goal.
Yeah, and we're also setting records with people listening, by the way. It's not just a YouTube show, Sam. Not just a YouTube show. Be posting the podcast link, too. Sam loves YouTube.
I love YouTube, but I know I appreciate the listeners
That's the Gen
as much
Zer
as
in
the
you.
watchers. Everybody.
Yeah.
I show my love to anybody who supports us. No discrimination against the listeners. You mean as much to me as the watchers.
That means the world. Well, to them. Producer Brendon's trivia.
Okay, guys. SU obviously on their bye week since joining the Atlantic Coast Conference, the beloved ACC. SU has beaten 4 other conference opponents when coming off of their bye. Name all 4 and one thing they have in common.
Say that again. I really wasn't listening. Sorry. I was
Story of my
I
life.
was thinking about the way he just made me sound to all the
of
listeners.
my life.
I did not mean to come across
He
as
just shamed me.
as mean, but Sam does forget to post the podcast link.
And
She's just
you
like, watch
obviously-
us, and I'm like, watch or listen to us.
sorry.
Sam, it's a
And
podcast.
Tommy, you
I'm
obviously
sorry.
forget to listen to your producer when he's talking to you. Since
You say
joining-
something, Brendon?
Go ahead,
This
Brendon.
guy. By the way, I put a jab at your beloved Temple Owls. in
Yeah, I
today's
read
notes.
that. I wasn't going to read that out loud.
SMU's going to beat them this weekend.
Yeah, everyone's beating them, brother. Everyone's beating them.
Get used to it. man.
Could we get on the schedule somehow?
Get Temple on the
We
schedule.
might as well.
Bring it back to the Big East days.
I mean, try and get a W.
Anyway, since joining
Everyone
the
take it easy on my ass.
Thomas. Since joining the ACC, Syracuse has beaten 4 other conference opponents when coming off of their bye, meaning Syracuse's bye. Name all 4 and one thing they share in common.
4 teams they've beaten in conference, right?
Yes, coming
Okay.
off of a bye.
Coming off of a bye. Got it. Okay.
Are we teaming up today, or do you all want to give separate answers this time?
I got Roman eyes.
Roman eyes. Oh, Roman eyes. All right.
It doesn't matter.
let's-
Mungro's going to cheat either way.
Let's
so.
team up.
Mungro's gonna say he had the answer from the start. Like I will say as well.
That's what I put. I put NC State.
No pressure.
That was last year.
You said conferences though.
No pressure. Super
Teams in the ACC that they beat coming out of the bye week.
Look, no pressure, guys.
Okay.
Our other super producer Rachel Clover got this on the first try.
Okay.
Whoa.
Well, I think I already have it because I know it was NC State last year coming off, and based on the other 3, my guesses are all teams in North Carolina. So I'm gonna go Wake. I'm gonna go UNC, and is there a 4th North Carolina team? And Duke.
I hate you.
That you know something, Tommy? Yeah. That's a group effort right
Bang.
there, baby. Group effort right there.
Teamwork makes the dream work.
There is no group effort there.
Everybody wins.
Did I not say it was gonna be a group answer? Group
You
answer.
It's not it could be a group
Tommy,
answer.
I like
It's
how
not
you
a
did
group
that, how you
effort.
broke it down North Carolina and filled those 4 teams.
Do you want to know the other?
It
Do you
was
know,
exactly like you walked me
for
through it.
a
That's the best. James Mungro goes, nice, everybody. We got
We
it.
got a team
for
effort.
a
win and lose
real
as a
quick,
team.
real quick
Just talked
for a
about this.
singular bonus point. Individual answers. There's another thing that these teams all have in common.
North Carolina, Wake, Duke, UNC.
Nothing about like the colors.
Duke, UNC. Oh, were they all the last 4 teams that Syracuse played / lost to in the ACC tournament in basketball?
No.
I was
'Cause
like,
I think that's
wow.
actually
If
kind
that's
of right.
actually true,
All
that,
4
that,
teams
that's,
are on the bottom of the Mason-Dixon
That is true.
That- that's not it either.
Well, that's
Well,
actually that's
true,
right though.
That's a true answer. Am
I
I
mean,
right?
Yeah.
I get a half a point.
No. Sam, do you want to throw an
4
answer in there
teams
real
they have
quick?
in common.
I got.
Yeah, I don't know.
I got nothing.
They are 4 of the original charter members of the ACC.
Oh,
Okay.
okay. Does that feel good? Did that feel good for you to get that?
Shh, Tommy, shut up.
We
Move
all
on to
got
basketball.
points there, so we should all be good.
Move
Yeah.
on to
Yeah.
basketball.
Checking in on Syracuse basketball. Orange tip-off happened this past Friday. We had media day, and Sam was there for Adrian Red Autry to ring in this new chapter of SU Hoops. James, I know, is excited for it. What was your biggest takeaway from media day? Felicia Leggett-Jack not there. We're wishing her the best. She went through a medical procedure. That's all we learned, but Deja Fair named to the Lieberman watch list, given to the nation's top point guard. So take it away.
I mean, the thing that stuck out to me is, so on the women's side, I appreciated the fact that a lot of the people who made last year in FLJ's first year so great are going to be back again. You have Deja Fair, and you have Elena Rice, and you have Georgia Woolley, and a lot of the household names who made last year so special. So I think there, it's some of that consistency, and it's players who are building upon their performances from last year. On the other side, on the men's side, I felt like it was the opposite of that, which was exciting. It was the transfers and the new freshmen and other people who could be impact players who we haven't seen a whole lot of on Syracuse so far. That was my biggest takeaway. And I'm forgetting his name right now, but I want to bring it up. The 7'4" dude.
Naheem McLeod.
Yes,
McLeod.
that's what I want to talk about.
Who's apparently still
So
growing.
I want to see. That's what I
Naheem
wanna see.
McLeod, man, I just have to say, like, from an interviewing standpoint, when they bring all the guys out, like, he just had me, like, astounded. I'm looking up here, like, and I'm with Dale, who, by the way, for those who don't know, listening on the podcast, is one of our coworkers, who's a dude who's, you know, maybe what, like 5'7" or 5'6". He's holding the big camera, looking up at this Naheem McLeod. I was like, his back has to hurt so badly
Dale's
right now.
for the team, man. Dale Ryder dies.
Absolutely. And he was the nicest guy. Like, hey, how you doing? Naheem McLeod. Like, the lowest, like, coolest, deepest voice. I was like, this guy is awesome. Just a huge wingspan. He was taking pictures with people. That is somebody who you get the sense that the fans are going to be really excited to see this guy in action. And so am I.
Yeah.
So let's talk about that guy, because I saw in the paper and he looked humongous.
Humongous.
he
You
looked-
can't even imagine.
So he's 7'4". Is that one of the tallest guys we ever had at Syracuse?
Yes. I believe I
Has to
saw
be.
Mike Waters do something on that maybe this was just like, where does he rank in college basketball right now? He's like first or second. But
I'm just trying to get like a sense of how big he is. How big was the guy from Purdue? The kid from Purdue.
Zach Edey. Zach Edey is 7.
I think he was like 7'3", 7'4" too.
Yeah,
wasn't he?
about that.
Well, he's-
Oh, that's great then, because that that dude was a mammoth.
Like,
He
real,
was-
and
it
it's like, you know in your head what 7'4" looks like about, but
He's
you really
7'4".
you have
Also,
to see
he's
it
back.
to believe it.
And my buddy Rosie, Rosa Wabui, he's I think he's 7'1".
definitely 7, I think.
Yeah,
Yeah.
my buddy Rosie.
I mean,
is
how
about 7.
tall are you?
Not that tall. But I'm like 6'2",
Like
6'3" with shoes.
6'2"?
Yeah.
Like,
I'm 6.
imagine-
I'm 6 foot.
I'm just saying, it's like even like a foot past him. That's how tall. I'm just like, that's just crazy that like 7'4" people even exist in the world.
How about Autry?
How big's his shoe?
Oh, probably huge.
22, 23.
He's probably in the 20s.
Right? Autry, you know what? He was great. He came out. He did sort of like a press conference style where
Yeah.
he was able to talk to everybody about what he was excited about. Biggest thing I took away from what he said is expect to see some change. He's like, expect to see some change across the board. Of course, one of the biggest changes, he's like, we will be playing some man-to-man
Man-to-man
defense, and he knows everybody is excited about that. But I just got the vibe that there's a lot of juice and a lot of talent there, and that these guys want to work really hard for him. I got the vibe that even though it's his first year in the head coaching role, all of the players who he brought in felt 100% confident being behind him and coming to play for him. And then even just, the players who have been with him before, they trust him and they thought that he brought out the best in them.
Yeah, man. Last of 2 notes. Who do you think has a better chance to make March Madness this year, the men's or women's team?
Whoa.
It's a good question.
I
It's
think
a
they,
really
I think
good
they
question.
both
I think they
do.
both make it.
I think they both make it, but if I had to put my money somewhere, I'll go with the women's team just because they're building on that momentum from last year. I really feel like they're going to be.
I
in
like
this
the
year.
edge and a second-year coach as well.
I like Autry. I like Autry's.
Okay.
I just
Love
because
it. Split.
new face.
We'll get
the
Brendon's take,
guys.
too.
So let's get it going, baby.
How about you, Brendon, if you had to pick one?
I'll go with the women's team too. They're bringing back depth of talent and talent who knows how to play together. Plus, the run they were on last year to end the season was one of the bigger stories we were covering at the time. When was that? That was like circa March of this past year, 2023.
Yeah.
March, April. It was like, when are they going to lose? Will they lose? And then they lost to Columbia on the road. But, I would expect them to get to the NCAA tournament this year after the year they had last year. That's the bar, I feel like,
Totally.
for this year.
I like that.
Totally.
Heck of a run. All right, that's the Orange Zone podcast. Brendon Hodges, James Mungro, Samantha Cross. I'm Tommy Sladek. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. Thank you, Billy Whitaker, Cars and Trucks. Appreciate everyone. Thank you for being a part of this journey with us. Peace.
See ya.